Welcome in to the Mind of a Coach podcast. These are your hosts, Coach Nathan Moran and Coach Asa Duvall. After a long week, we're back together, man.
Here we are, man. Here we are. It's a good week. We're a week away from we're supposed to have a game in a week, so it's here, it's upon us, and it's approaching. So I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I got backed into today, but
Yeah.
she was a nice lady, so we got it all figured out.
Is it bad?
It's not pretty, but it's okay. It could be
Were you
worse.
stopped?
No one was injured.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good.
No,
Were you
we
at a
were in
light
the
or anything? Or
no, we were in the
parking
parking
lot?
lot, and I had backed out, and I was about to turn it in drive, and it was bright. Like I don't blame her. Like she probably just couldn't
Oh,
see.
really?
Yeah, it wasn't like she probably didn't look. It was just probably she couldn't see. So
Well, maybe you can cash in on a little insurance money there.
I'm not looking to cash in on anything, but I feel bad for her. I mean, she was really nice though. So it all
Got you.
worked out.
Got you.
But
Good.
anything good been going on? Besides,
Um,
I guess you first games in a week.
Yeah. First, there's a lot of hoops we got to jump through, man, to make this stuff happen. I can't say everything I want to say, but there's just a lot of stuff that's got to happen with the protocols that are in place. But at the end of the day, we got a season that's coming up. If we're gonna have games, and we just got to appreciate those. So it'll be a challenge. Obviously, it'll be different. But man, it's good to be close to time, man. It's good to be close to time.
No kidding. No kidding. It's about that time. It's about that
It
time.
is,
I mean,
man.
we're in our second week of practice, and gosh, I'm ready for the season.
Y'all schedule got released today, right? Didn't y'all officially
Yeah,
release your schedule?
yeah. So our conference is dividing our. We're basically dividing our conference into two, and we're doing
Okay.
like basically two divisions.
Yeah.
So it's based on geographic location. So
Yeah.
just to prevent traveling and staying in a bunch of places. So hopefully day
Yeah.
trips can happen, and try to meet the NCAA like where they want us,
Yeah, man.
and
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
try to combat this virus. But man, I think this week's been going. I swear, every week's just flying by now, coming towards
It is,
season.
I feel like the fall. I was just telling my parents earlier how even with all this 2020 stuff, I feel like the year's gone by pretty quickly, and the fall especially. Once we got back into school and we got back in the swing of things, I feel like it's just flown by.
I know, and it's also I don't know how you guys are working. Are you guys is your break earlier than normal, like
Yeah. So
traditionally?
this is fine. They got finals and everything. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And this is literally the last full week of school, and then next week is some people got some finals. Some people have done Sunday, but then they'll be off till well after New Year's. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, but it'll kind of be cool because there's not going to be any other students around. So hopefully that can create like a little bubble where we can pull this thing off without any positive tests or anything.
Yeah, I definitely think during this time will be the biggest opportunity for everybody to stay safe and stay away from COVID.
Yeah, certainly, I agree with that.
But we'll see. We'll see. Hey, the draft's tonight.
I
Um,
know.
is there anything that's happened in the past with the draft? Because we're at our fact of the week here. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know if
So,
it has to do with the draft. I was just curious.
yeah, a little historical fact of the week does have to do the draft. So, Nate, can you name the first three picks in the 1984 NBA draft?
1984. That's not Michael Jordan, is it? That's not his year?
I don't know. Is it? You tell
All
me.
right, well, I'll guess Hakeem Olajuwon, Sam Bowie, Michael Jordan.
Yes, sir. You are correct. Well done, Nate. Well done, Nathan. So 1984, first three picks, Hakeem Olajuwon, Sam Bowie, and Michael Jordan. Incredible draft right there. One of the
You know,
probably the most legendary player of all time.
and
Goes number
everybody
three.
gives Sam Bowie like a hard time, but he was a heck of a player. He just got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt. He ended up playing I think he ended up playing like 10, 11 years. It's not like he was,
Yeah,
2 years in the league and done. He played for a while. He was
yeah.
just hurt all the time.
And it's like if the Rockets could do it over again, would they have drafted Michael? I don't know. Hakeem Olajuwon would.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
like if Michael was to be but like at first Michael was a scorer, and I mean he was
Yeah.
always not just a scorer, but like he was a really good scorer. I mean he got bounced out of the playoffs a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
looking at Hakeem Olajuwon's roster, I mean, who'd they have? Kenny the Jet Smith, and they had somebody else.
Clyde. Or was Clyde on there
Yes,
at
yeah,
that time?
yeah, they had
Yeah.
Clyde. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, pretty good team too.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
I think it's like
It's
I
hard
don't
not to
think I
take
would
a
have
Keem. It's
redone
hard
that.
not to take a Keem in that situation.
Yes,
Obviously,
exactly.
nobody knew what Jordan was going to pan out to be, but hard not to take a Keem.
I agree. Asa, what do you got to get off your chest?
Daylight savings time, Nate. Daylight savings time is the most infuriating thing going on right now. Why can't we just coming into the spring? Why can't we just put the clocks forward and just leave it there for the rest of eternity? I'm so sick of going into the gym at 2:00 in the winter after the clocks turn back and not being able to see the sunlight until the next morning. I hate daylight savings time. Whoever the next presidential candidates are, if you just run, if your whole campaign is just, I'm going to do away with daylight savings time, I promise you I'll vote for you. You got my vote. That's all I care about going forward is daylight savings time. Eradicate it from the face of the earth. It's pointless. It's stupid. We need more daylight. I hate daylight savings time.
Okay, so you would hate to live in parts of Canada when it's basically dark for 20 hours a day.
Yeah, I like me some sunlight, man. I'm sorry. I like me some
So what you're
sunlight.
saying is we just need to have darkness until about 9:00 in the morning, and that would be better because at
Yeah.
least by 6:00 it would still be bright.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I am totally against daylight savings time. I don't
So
know
it
how
used to
if
be like daylight's giving time.
daylight's giving time. There we go. I like that. I'm just trying to get more daylight and life out here.
All right, daylight's giving. Daylight's giving. All right, hey, for my 3 keys, I'm actually going to ask our guest some keys again. We did that with Coach Collins, and
Yep.
I thought it was really good. Honestly, I think the viewers should hear more from other people rather than me.
Yeah.
Get bigger and better knowledge. Bigger
Yeah.
and better knowledge.
Nate, not to dampen the mood real quick, but I do want to point a couple things out. I want to say rest in peace to Rasheed Walker, Nashville legend. He gave his all to the community. He was shot this past weekend. Started the Nashville Pro-Am, was always involved in the community and giving back. So prayers up to him and his family. Nashville lost a great one. Really, really tragic and sad. And then also in the OVC, coach, UT Martin head coach Anthony Stewart passed away suddenly this past weekend as well. So prayers go out to him and his family. Parker Stewart, probably the best player on UT Martin's team. That was his dad. So can't imagine what he's going through, but just want to send out prayers to the family and friends of those people.
Yeah, man, that's necessary because, gosh, I couldn't imagine losing my dad. And gosh, I mean, I didn't know Coach Stewart personally. I've gotten to play against him in a scrimmage and kind of got to shake his hand, talk to him for a second. But gosh, I've heard really, really great stories about him. So, and then to go off Rasheed, I mean, what he was able to do for the Nashville community and bringing back the the Pro-Am and just like bringing people together. It's crazy that he would be killed by senseless gun violence, but
in his own city, man. I mean, he gave me the opportunity to coach for anybody else. So, I always thank him for that. And he was a friend. So definitely want to send prayers out to his friends and family along with Coach Stewart as well.
Yeah. So hopefully his legacy will live on. Hopefully someone can get the Pro-Am and continue to help it grow. And Coach Stewart's legacy will live on as well.
Absolutely.
But shifting focus a little bit, I'm excited to introduce our next guest
right now.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, we should be good. As long as Ashley didn't start taking some kind of nursing test or something like that, we're good.
Oh yeah, we'll be good to go then. All right, so hey, I know you got a lot to do, so we're just gonna get after it. All right.
Sounds great, man.
All right, guys, we want to welcome in our next guest, Coach Cole Rose, a current associate head coach at Lee University, former player at Lee University as well. During his playing career, he tabbed all conference honors while helping the Flames to a 55-22 record, while winning conference championship and making an Elite Eight appearance. After his playing career, Coach Rose decided to go in the direction of high school coaching, actually. Started off in Georgia, correct?
Yeah.
Started off in Georgia, and after a quick short stint, he ended up coming back to Chattanooga to Boyd Buchanan in 2012, 2013. He helped Boyd to 2012, 2013, 25-8.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I think so. I'm terrible with years. I'm really bad with dates. So yeah, and then it should be around there.
Good. And then the next year to a 28-4 record, Coach Rose was also named the region coach of the year. And directly after that took the assistant job at Lee University, where he has been since. Coach Rose is accompanied by his wife, Ashley, oldest daughter, Penny, son, Jack. Coach Rose is one of the smartest coaches I have been around. Personally, I can say this: his ability to speak to players, develop individual games, and work tirelessly for the benefit of the program are just a few of Coach Rose's strengths. He is a family man. And gosh, Coach Rose, thank you for coming on.
I appreciate you guys having me. I've had the chance to listen to quite a few. Actually, was on the road last night and listened to a bunch of podcasts from you guys, and I love the heart of the project. I think that you guys are hitting on something great, and I wish that I had a resource like this. And I think Asa, I listened to one where y'all talked with Coach Maddox, and he was talking about writing a book, and Asa kind of made the point, it's like, this is kind of like y'all's book you're writing, where you can go back, and I think it'll really serve people that way, especially young coaches, because you're asking really genuine questions for guys at the start of this journey. I think it's super valuable.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot. It's been fun. Me and Nate called me with the idea, and we've had it rolling, man. So thank you. I appreciate that.
For sure. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous. It's the first podcast. A little nervous.
A little nervous. Hey, you mentioned books. So, hey, if you think it's like a book, if you think it's that way, then
yeah. Hey,
our podcast is really good because he's a
compliment.
reader, Asa. He is a reader.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So this is big for us.
I'll sleep well tonight after that compliment. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Coach. So right out of college, you get the high school job, the high school head coaching job. Did you feel prepared, and how has that job impacted you as a coach today?
Oh, that's a great question. When I came out of college, I guess I was 22, 23 years old. And probably one of the best things about being that age is, like, at that point, I felt like I was prepared. And I was wrong.
Yeah. Little naive.
All the confidence. Yeah, all the confidence that 22 or 23-year-olds have of, like, yeah, sure, it's going to be easy. And it was not. It was a totally different ball game. And, one of the best teachers you can have as a coach is failure and coming up short. And, man, mistakes that first year and continued. But for me, just the opportunity to have my own team and go ahead and learn on the job was the most valuable and most important thing for me at that point in my career. And for me, I felt like it was the best opportunity to develop, was just to go ahead and dive right in. Mm-hmm. And so I think that first team I had in Dublin, Georgia, I think we won 5 games. And, it's funny, the first game I ever coached in, this is unbelievable, right? So the first game I ever coached in, we were going against the homeschool team of Macon, Georgia. So try to schedule off early, right? And it was, I was like, we got this. We're going to be okay. And it comes down to, like, the last second. We're down by 2. We get a rebound. We come up and we call timeout. And so I'm in the huddle. There's about 6-7 seconds left. We got a side out. I know they've been playing zone all night, so we drew up a play in the huddle for our best player. And first game I've ever coached in, right? We draw one up at the buzzer, and our kid hits it like a walk-off game winner. And, like, I mean, people are excited. It's about as exciting as a small basketball against the homeschool team can be. And then so we hit the locker room, right? And I'm like, guys, get used to this feeling. You got to get used to winning, boys. This is how it's gonna be, right? And then we promptly went on a 12-game losing streak. we didn't win another one until after Christmas. And so I guess to answer your question, yeah, I thought I had it figured out and thought I was really, really ready, and then was not at all. But I've been really, really lucky. I mean, even back then, I look on it. I've just been really blessed to be surrounded by really, really good people. And the headmaster of that school that hired me was actually an ex-college coach who is now coaching the girls' high school team, and was just wanted to coach his daughter and wanted to be the headmaster of a high school. And he like took me under his wing and was gracious to me and let me make all kinds of mistakes and then helped coach me up. And I'm just like, I don't know how it's happened, but I've just fallen into these places with great people around me who have really helped me.
That's an unbelievable story to start your coaching career. That is amazing. All right. Earlier you mentioned some mistakes, made some mistakes early on. And what were some of those mistakes you made? They don't have to be egregious, but something that, man, maybe I could have done that different. What was something, that you took from that?
Well, I think for me, your identity when you come out of college is as a player. And for me specifically, I never thought I was the most talented player or had the most ability, but, I always have taken a pride in how I work, and I was the same way as a player. And that's what I expected of my players really early on. And that was a really tough lesson, was like, not everybody's going to be like you were as a player. Not everybody's goal is to play college basketball. Not everybody's mindset is to do this for a living. Very few people have that mindset. And that's probably why we became coaches. But that doesn't change your job. Your job is to coach those kids and help them have the best future that they can possibly have. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that was something that I struggled with early. I think I made some kids' lives pretty miserable early on in the process, and it took me a while to learn that for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I guess the next thing is, so you are successful as a head coach as well. He just talked about the 5 games that he won his first year, but then he wins 25 games, then he wins 28 games. So then that transition from high school to college, there's no way. I think people think that, oh, it's easy. Coaching is coaching. And it might be. I've never done the transition. So what was the toughest thing about the transition from high school to college?
There's a lot of tough. The first is just 2 different jobs. It's just like 2 very, very different things. Some things my favorite things about both the jobs are the same, like the teaching aspect. I love teaching, whatever it is, whether it's in the classroom or on the court or in one-on-one in film with the guys. Like, I love teaching, and that is that's the same in that aspect. And actually, you know what? Games feel the same to me. Like,
really? Okay.
You would think like, well, it's just a high school game, it's a loss. Like, a loss feels like a loss. And,
a loss is a loss. I don't care where
it doesn't matter.
A loss is a loss. It feels bad.
Right. And that all feels the same. Or like, going into a big game and you're a high school coach, you're nervous. Like, you feel that way. Same thing as a college. You're nervous. It's the same amount. Like, that doesn't vary at all. I think some of the toughest parts for me were figuring out like how much else there is to do other than just coaching. In college, everybody thinks, man, I want to be a college coach and just all you do is coach all day. Well, that might be like, I don't know, 10% of your job, 15% of your job, maybe. There's so many other things that go into making you a valuable assistant or a valuable part of the staff, whether that be like, hey, our guys are so on top of their academics that we don't have to worry about eligibility or class schedules, or people are communicating in a certain way, or all those little details that, sometimes in high school, it's like, well, that's the kid and their parents' responsibility to make sure they're making grades and stuff like that. But yeah, I would say, just that. And then the recruiting aspect is way different too. That's a pretty big lesson at any level of basketball. Like, the better players you have, the better coach you're going to be. I mean, that's true college or high school, but when you get to college, everybody says, hey, you get to pick your players. And so that's a different thing than I was used to experiencing in high school. It's a huge part of the job for sure.
Yeah.
What's been the most rewarding thing, I guess, from that transition? Something that I guess I know you talked a little bit about the differences, but what was like the most rewarding difference for you coming from high school to college?
That's a really good question. For me, I think the thing to kind of understand, it was a unique opportunity for me to go back to my alma mater at Lee, which
Yeah.
is a place that I really, really love.
Mm-hmm.
And to serve as an assistant for Coach Brown, who was my head coach that I played for, in a time of transition.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lee was transitioning from the NAIA, where we were pretty much a top 5, top 10 team year in and year out. Tommy Brown won, 30 plus games. Maybe like 6 times in his career, like
Wow.
6, like 30-win seasons. He never had less than a 20-win season as an NAIA coach.
That's
Like, it's
great.
just
Most people
yeah.
never get to experience a 30-win season ever.
No, right. They never do. And like, he's doing this year in and year out. And
That's
well,
amazing.
so then we move from kind of a top tier program in the NAIA in the transition period to Division II, and in the Gulf South Conference, mind you, which is a tough, it is a murderer's row of coaches and programs, and some big like state schools across the Southeast that we're competing with. So when I came in, it was our last year of the probationary period, so we were still not eligible for postseason competition in Division II.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we won 18 games that first year, and the next year was our first year eligible. We ended up having a really down year. We won 10 games, and like, sitting there at that point, I think there was a lot of people around the program just saying like, I don't know if Lee is a place you can win in Division II. And to be able, I got really lucky. And when Coach Bubba Smith came in and kept me around, one of my big goals was to like, let's get us back to a competitive place for this program, because I believe so strongly in the university and the basketball program there and the good that it's done for so many people. Like, I wanted to get us up there being a winner. And I don't know if we're there yet, but we're competitive now. And that's a big jump, because 5 or 6 years ago, it was like, man, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, I don't know if this is going to happen. So I would probably say that's one of the proudest things, is just the overall growth of the program and doing it in a way that fits Lee and it fits our school.
Mm-hmm. That's important at a place like Lee, even a place like Lipscomb, where we played, and that's a big part.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coach Rose, so you talked about one of your favorite things about coaching is the ability to teach. And for those that don't know, you're an English teacher. You currently teach at Lee. I think it's a basketball class, but you're a teacher. You teach on the court. You're teaching me. You're teaching all the players, like, more than just basketball. So my question is, what do you try to teach the players through basketball that is going to lead into their life outside of the game of basketball?
Yeah, I think another good question. We've at Lee, we have a character coach, and there's a guy around our program, Heath Esslinger, who I think, Nate, you've been able to meet, but for your listeners in ASA, like, this guy is an unreal coach. He was a wrestling coach at UTC for a really long time, and super successful, like built them into a national contender at little UTC, and is just, you talk about like a magnetic personality. Like, he is incredible. And, we get the benefit of meeting with him. Him and Bubba are really good friends, and I try to just be a fly on the wall and listen as much as possible. And, we were having like a small group meeting once, and he was talking about the etymology of the word coach. Like, where does that word come from? And he was talking about, if you think of a coach, like, the first thing a coach was, especially in the early days of the word, was a vehicle, like a physical vehicle to get someone from where they are to where they want to be. Like, that's what a coach is. And then it came to mean like a tutor that wants to take a student from where they are to where they need to be to pass a test, and then back to athletics. And that, when I think about what coaching is, like, that's kind of my focus. And so, Nate, I think, like, when you're talking about like, what do you want to teach people on or off the floor specifically, my favorite thing, and I think especially in literature or anything we can teach, I think one thing that sports brings about is like these concepts of paradox, and like the most important thing as a team. So the thing that I love teaching people, the most important thing that I love about sports is like you get to be part of a team. And on a team, you are simultaneously the most and the least important person in your whole organization. Like it's so hard to wrap your head around.
Amen.
But there is no one like
that
more
might be the best thing that's ever been said on this podcast.
Oh man, you're gonna make me blush now. But like, I mean, if you think about it, like that's what a team is that every single guy has something that they bring to the group, and every single one of you is the most important person. But at the same time, you have to die to yourself and get outside of yourself and look at your brother next to you and say, you know, that person is just as important as I am, and not pride yourself too high. So I think like, you know, just teaching everybody that comes through, I hope everybody that comes through our program or comes through a class that I teach, like I want them to know that they are deeply, deeply valued as a human being. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like the world is not about you. It's not.
All right, so we've talked about that, you know, about how every player, coach, that you all got something to bring to the table, right? Right? How do you make the ones who don't feel like they have anything to bring to the table? How do you make them realize that they do have something to bring to the table, and for them to reach that potential?
Yeah, I think that's I think, you know, I don't know if I would have said it was a benefit during my playing career, but as a coach, it's been a benefit. You know, luckily as a player, I was able to occupy almost every single seat on a team. You know, I was lucky enough when I came my first year in college to be a starter as a freshman on an NAIA team. 2 years later, I was a redshirt walk-on at Belmont, and it was like, I mean, the scout team day in and day out. And then 2 years after that, was lucky enough to be an all-conference player and a captain on a team that won 33 games. And so I fully appreciate the value of a scout team. And, you know, one thing I thought our team did really well at Lee last year is like we had 5 guys that made a pretty good scout team, and they were really into it, and they learned the other team's plays. And if our first team was not guarding them correctly and hard, and like they were going to light them up and they were going to go after them. And I thought that was a huge key to our success. And maybe they didn't get written about in articles or make the news stories or whatever, but everybody in that locker room, they knew that that scout team, like those 5 guys, were an integral part of like what we were able to do as a team. I think you got to celebrate everybody. If you are asking someone to take on a role that's going to be only recognized within your locker room, like, hey, you better recognize it within your locker room, you know, because you're all conference kid. Like, he's going to get the articles written about him. He's going to get the Twitter likes. He's going to get all that. But like inside that locker room, inside that circle, that's what matters. I think you got to do a really good job if you're asking people to do hard things within that, like celebrate them, especially in front of their peers.
That's so cool, because now you have solid evidence, and I'm sure you have film from those practices where the scout team was going at the ones. And now you can say, in the future, you can take that to your other players and say, hey, look what happened here when all our players were bought in. They were going at them day in and day out in practice, and look where we got as a team. That's some solid evidence you can provide to future players.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And AC, you might not know this, but like, you know, I thought one of my biggest developments as a player was as a redshirt walk-on at Belmont, because every single day, you know who I guarded?
Who?
Penny Collins.
That's awesome, man.
Every day.
Awesome. And I wasn't sure if you were there. I wasn't sure the time frame right there, but
yeah. And he went, like we went at each other every day, and I had so much fun. And for the record, he won like every day. And like, but I had so much respect for him, because I mean, I fouled him like crazy. The most, like I could barely catch him, but I tried to foul him every time I could. But he never complained. Like he was thankful for the effort of our guys of like getting them ready. Like he fully comprehended that and was into it. And so was that team. And it was a really, really special team that year.
Yeah, man. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah. Hey, so that's actually funny that you brought that up, Asa, and Coach Rose, because Asa, if you remember, you said that we talked about it earlier on when we were talking to players about how they're not playing, about how to embrace that role. And basically, you're the O-line on the team. You're the O-line on the team. You have to do all the small things like doing scout team, cheering for your teammates when you're not playing, and you're not going to get noticed. I mean, that the O-line blocks for Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry runs for 212 yards, and everyone talks about Derrick Henry, but nobody cares that the O-line was giving him wide open lanes. So, I mean, it's the things that are the unseen that are some of the most valuable. And I think that you hit the nail on the head, just how you can help that. And that's praising your players in the locker room and doing it around their peers. So definitely good advice. How was your coaching philosophy, or how has your coaching philosophy changed from being a head coach to now an associate head coach on the college level?
Yeah, congrats, by the way. That just happened, right? Didn't you just get promoted to this? Congrats.
Yeah, that was last week. I think that's kind of what, when Nate asked me to be on the podcast, I thought maybe he was waiting for that or something. Like I had to earn my way.
You had to earn your stripes.
Yeah, right.
That's funny.
Yeah, exactly. I think in some ways you kind of are who you are as a coach. Like I've always been a defensive minded guy. So as a high school coach, I was a big believer in that. I think the big thing that's changed is like in offensively in high school, we really based what we did on what we had, so I think you really have to tailor what you do to what fits your team. And, working with high school kids, at least in my experience, like they're able to get better really, really quickly sometimes. So like they can make these big jumps from sophomore to junior year, especially like physically they grow a ton. Right. And then just their game can grow so much. So like you almost have a different kid every single year. You hope that's the same with college kids, but sometimes, especially as you get later in the career, it's like a more fine tuning of their game. But I would say like that's one of the biggest differences. The other thing too is just as a head coach in high school, you're constantly feeling that way, and then you get to be an assistant on the college level, and that's a different job too. As an assistant, your job is to fully understand the vision of your head coach and bring what you can to it. But at the end of the day, it's to like help him execute that vision. And, luckily now working at the same place for two different head coaches, I've been able to learn a whole lot about two different visions and how that looks. And, one thing I've learned from Bubba is just the execution of the offense. He's a 2-guard Princeton guy. And that's something that like, we dabbled in a little bit at Belmont, not too much, just we had a couple of sets in there, but not too much. And then, but like to be knee deep in it now, full-fledged, like I love it. It's great. And it's been awesome to like add that tool into your toolbox in case you have the personnel to do it. And it's fun to recruit to as well. But I mean, I would say that's probably a big difference. As an assistant, your job is to understand the vision and then do everything you can to make that vision work and make your head coach look great doing it.
Yeah, I think that's so important for young coaches out there to keep that in mind, because even I'll catch myself like, all right, you want it to be yours and you want to make the calls, you want to make some decisions, but you got to keep the bigger picture in mind. Like, this isn't my show. This isn't my show at all. This is Penny's show. This is Bubba's show, right? And sometimes I even got to remind myself, like, all right, relax a little bit. Wait your time. This is Penny's show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you gotta be okay with hearing no.
Exactly.
And you guys say like, and there's a fine line of confidence to say like, hey, I think I have this idea that will really work. And like, yeah, you need to do that. But at the end of the day, you got to understand, like, I mean, Bubba Smith earned the job at Lee, Penny Collins earned the job at TSU and he's there for a reason. Certainly. And, I at least for me, like I've loved learning every single thing I can from him because I know that it's made me a better coach in the long run.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So I usually do a 3 keys with Coach Collins. I decided to give the 3 keys to him, and I'm also going to give the 3 keys to you today. Okay. So the 3 keys that our viewers are going to get to hear from someone brighter and smarter than I is the 3 keys to being a very bland, very blunt, very straightforward to being a successful coach. What would be your 3 biggest keys?
That's a good question. I think like, all right, if I can go like just a little
on the spot. On the spot.
Just a step back on it. I think the first thing you would have to do is understand what a successful coach is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably a very different answer
Yeah.
for different people.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
So for you as a young coach, what is your definition of success is probably the first thing you got to answer when you're talking about that. And so for me, the number one thing that I kind of have to tell myself every day and is like, look, everybody's path is different. And the college basketball world, there's a ton of people that will tell you, hey, this is how you do it. You got to do this, or you got to do that, or you got to raise up to this level or do that or whatever. But look, every single person's path is different. And knowing what's important to you and making sure you keep that first is going to guarantee you like what's successful to you. So to me, like, I know like my most important things is number one is the people under my own roof. And that's my wife and my 2 kids. And there might be some people that look at where I'm at in my career and I'm going on year 7 as an assistant at a D2 and be like, man, if I was 7 years as an assistant at a D2, like that might not be success. But for me in my situation, it's afforded me a chance that my wife is able to finish her nursing degree this spring. And like, hey,
congratulations.
There is like no better feeling than the person that you love the most accomplishing one of their dreams, right? Like to me, that's success. That's really successful. Well, you know, Lee University is probably the most important college basketball program in the country to me. Well, we're kind of on the up and up right now. Like to me, that's successful. You know, and that's been my path that I've been lucky to have. To other people, maybe that's not, but to me, that is. So, and I get to see my kids. You know, I got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old next week, and you know, I get to see them every day. I get to take them to preschool and take them to kindergarten, and like to me, that's a pretty good spot for success. So, that would be the first thing. Is like understanding what success is, and then knowing that every single path is different. Number 2, I think, and I think Penny said this. Whenever I listen to Penny on a podcast, like I write things down. And I think he said, like, he was like, be great at the job you have. And there's so much you want to do. It's like, man, if I could only get this job, or if I could do that, if I could do this, like, well, who cares? If you're not great at the job you have, it'll never happen anyway. So I think definitely like that's a phenomenal piece of advice. Is like, be great at the job you have. And then third, I'm a big growth mindset guy. Like I just think there's something to be learned from every situation. No year, no 2 teams is the same. It's not going to go the same way each and every time out. Like you can learn something every day, whether that's reading, whether it's listening, whether it's picking people's brains. Like every single player you coach is going to be different. And they might remind you of each other, but they're all different. But I think you constantly have to be learning. You constantly have to be learning and have that mindset that like, nope, I don't have it figured out. I got to do better. I got to get better, and I got to stay learning. And if I can add a fourth.
Yes, please.
Please.
All the keys. We need to learn it all.
Can we have some fun doing it? Can we do it? Like number 4 would be like, man, put a smile on. Let's do it. Like, don't just like, you know, I people say like, hey, we're grinding today. We're out grinding on the recruiting trail. Like, we get to watch basketball for a living. Like we get to coach basketball. That's pretty fun, man. It's like good. I can't believe they pay us for this. Like,
really
amen,
man.
Amen. That would be my 4th key. Like, let's have a good time doing it.
Amen, man. I love that. I love that so much, man. Always learning, always having fun. If you're not learning, then what are you really doing? You can learn something from every single situation that you're in, man. So I agree with those completely.
Yeah.
All right. So last question that I have for you, and Asa, if you want to interject or ask anything that you want, obviously come in. But for all coaches out there that are trying to make the decision to jump from high school to college, what would you tell them?
Great question.
That is a really good question.
Because that can be a tough transition.
Oh, it can be an unbelievable transition. I would say know what you're getting into. Especially if you're going from a head coach to an assistant coach, like the person you work for is really a big determining factor, and the environment that you work in is a big determining factor. And, you know, can you be helpful? Can you execute your purpose? Not just like your career climbing, but can you execute your purpose as a human being in the spot that you're willing to take?
Yeah.
You know, is it about putting that that title next to your name, or is it really about like hopefully serving people or execute whatever you see your purpose as a coach of doing that? You know, can you do that at the same level? You know, so, and I think another big thing too is like just life situations. You know, for you guys, and you know, no kids yet for y'all, and you got the chance to do it, and you know, it's a good time. But man, it is there's a lot of time involved too in college coaching, and high school coaches put in a ton of grind as well. But as a high school head coach, you can kind of dictate your time a little more than like a college assistant, if that makes sense. So but when you got a whole family riding on that as well, and that's your number one priority, then that's something you got to think about too.
Okay, I got a couple questions. One, what is the best way for somebody who is coaching in high school to get their foot in the door in college?
Oh man, that's it. You know what? That's a great question. It's really, really hard. And when I was in high school, I remember calling guys. And
I'm assuming you had to probably take a pretty major pay cut at some point.
Yeah, I did. I absolutely did. I say, and in all honesty, I did. And and I would call guys and say like, hey, how do I get in? How do I meet your boss? How do I do this? And like, it was kind of a closed door thing. And ultimately, the one place where I could get in was at Lee. Was the spot where I left. And that's the thing. When you first start out, you kind of gotta take what you're given, you know, and like, where do you have an in? Because, and what was explained to me too was like, you know, this coach is hiring you not just to work for him. It's not just like that. Like, you're going to do life with this head coach that's hiring you. Y'all are going to spend a lot of time together. Those bus rides are long, right? You know, you're together. You know, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a marriage. Like, you are all there together all the time. And so that head coach, they want to hire somebody they know. They want to hire somebody they trust, and they want to hire somebody that's going to get the job done. And that's not just like having your resume out there in a stack. And I promise you, I put my resume in all the stacks and did not no callbacks, except from the one place that like I probably could have just called him straight up anyway. So but I think the more you can get your name out there as a high school coach, and the more you can just make genuine connections with college coaches really helps. For sure.
Yeah. Well, cool. All right, my last one. All right, so you're an avid reader, correct?
I would say so.
Okay. All right. What's the most recent book you've read? And then I got another book question for you. What's the most recent book you've read? I guess coaching basketball wise, you know, or anything.
All right. I'm going to miss the author. Last week I read Outside Shot by, last name was O'Neill. And it was the story of the Scott County High School basketball program in Kentucky.
Kentucky? Okay.
Yeah. It was really, really good. It was really, really good. Yeah.
All right. And then my second part to that question, what is the book that has made the most impact on you as a coach?
As a coach, it's really hard for me to separate, like, as a coach, as a teacher, all that. I guess,
it could be, you know, philosophy kind of approach towards life every day. It's something like that.
Yeah, I think when I was a junior in college, we read Viktr Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I think I've read it every single year at some point or another.
Wow. Really?
Like, bring you back to what your purpose is. And to me, I guess in a way, like, I've always it's funny, AC, you asked that. I guess I have viewed that as like a coaching book, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's my job as a coach, or that's my purpose, is to help other people find meaning in their life. And like for me, I get to do it through the game of basketball, which is super fun. But it's also a lot like teaching in the English classroom or teaching in this administration of sport class that I'm teaching now. It's like the same exercise, but just in a different format. But yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites.
And for whoever hasn't read it, I would definitely recommend going to check it out, because
I have not read it, so I'm gonna have to check that.
Oh,
one out.
it is deep. It is deep. You'll be thinking about yourself now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I promise. It's a really
Some
good
may say I think
really
about myself too much already.
It's very in depth. Like you're gonna think very deeply about yourself, about what you're doing and everything else. It's very good. It's very good. But Coach Rose, I appreciate you coming on podcast this week. I know the viewers have definitely gained some knowledge, as Penny might say. He has knowledge. So I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you using the smart, wise, and kind words towards us. We really appreciate that. Where could they find you on Twitter?
That's a great. Where could they find me on Twitter? I'm like the least social media.
You can find him on Twitter at Coach Cole Rose.
That's it. Nate has revolutionized my social media presence from 0 to slightly more than 0. So it's on my list of things to work on.
Oh, it's definitely a list on, I think, all of our things to work on. But hey, you can find him there. You can find Asa at the Ace of Spades with a Z on the end. You can find me at Nate5_Moran. You can find us at Mind of a Coach on Twitter, or no, Mind of a Coach 1 on Twitter, excuse me, and Mind of a Coach on Instagram. You can also check out our Facebook page as well. Please make sure to subscribe and like below. We appreciate you guys tuning in and looking forward to seeing you guys next week.
See y'all.
Thanks, guys.